Social Action Committee of 20, Bernard Powell. He did so much community stuff, like for his people and everything. And he was in at least 3 different organizations, and I was on the board. I was on the board with him in some of those organizations. He used to have the Bernard Powell banquet and everything down here in the park, parade and everything down here in the park. Myrtle and I were a part of it. We would get kids from the city and bring them out here, and we'd have programs. Man, we had this whole park crowded out here for Bernard Powell's day. And he was just, he was a good person, but he let the wrong people come in and be a part of what he was doing. See, when they started that grocery store up there on Prospect, they had that, and they did it. They were doing it for youth. But now the group that he was working with, they wanted to keep doing what they were doing because they had young kids, girls and boys up there, and they were selling drugs and everything. Bernard Powell went against that. That cost him his life.
Each one of those kids love and respect. And they didn't have that in the community because we didn't have a recreation place. They had to use my house or my daycare center for the stuff that I had to give out to them. And it was like, they never had that before. But once they learned it, I didn't have any trouble with my kids. Not any. We had parents that gave over to their children, and they would bring their kids, and then Harrel would have to pick some of them up. And every time, we just didn't, I guess I just didn't stand for no cursing and all that. They had to walk the chalk. If I walk in the chalk, don't mean that it was a straight line, because your chalk can curve in different areas. But we enjoyed those kids. And they did, when they would say, all right, it's time for you to sit down. They didn't even look for a chair.
Well, let me add something to that. We had a lady named Miss Mitchell work for us for 30 years or more. And when the kids would come in the mornings, before breakfast, we have devotion.
Oh, yeah.
We had devotion, Lord's Prayer, Black National Anthem.
Yeah, I remember that. We used to do that in practice too.
Yeah. So they would do that every day. So every kid, the kids that came to our daycare center after they were there for a while, they learned the Lord's Prayer, they learned the Black National Anthem, the Pledge of Allegiance. They could go to school. A lot of kids at school wasn't learning the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And they sang songs, and they sang together.
When feeding time comes, I'm saying feeding, I mean.
Breakfast time or
Yeah,
lunchtime.
Yeah, they had to say the Lord's Prayer, they had to say
A blessing.
It has to do with the blessing out of the Bible. And they look forward to that. They always left outside. They didn't come into the daycare center.
Say stopped at the gate.
That's right.
I remember your saying, was like, leave that at the gate.
Right.
It was more like church. It was more like what the church do for the young people, old
Sunday,
people.
yeah.
It was more like, training that we were trying to teach young people live together, get along with one another. There would be some little fights and things sometimes, but they kind of resolve themselves.
Right.
And one would teach the other. They realized that it wasn't no ghetto on the inside of this place, but the ghetto was left outside. And it wasn't long before the ghetto wasn't even around.
Why do you think that changed?
Age. People like us, we got old and we retired. Other people that lived in the neighborhood had certain goals that they had set for themselves that changed. People started to go in different directions. One time, there was a business, there was this hotel up there on 29th and Prospect. And man, prostitutes, drug dealers. You couldn't come off of Prospect and hit 30th Street coming down to our house without prostitutes almost blocking you to keep you from getting your car or something, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so it was, and then murders.
I don't know, because you know we had Powell,
Yep.
and they played a major role. And then Cook's Paint used to be up there on the corner. They moved out. And across the street was Powell. And he had Sac 20.
It's Act 20.
You remember Sac 20?
Yes, ma'am.
And then he had his own building across the street. And they was so rough on him until they had to set it up so he would get killed.
Because I think he was he murdered or set up?
He was murdered.
Murdered, yeah.
He was murdered by kids used to come to the daycare center.
Down there in Indiana. Wasn't that Indiana?
He was killed in that club on 27th in Indiana.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they also murdered the gentleman who owned the Green Duck too, right?
Yeah,
Leon
Leon
Jordan.
Yeah. Wow.
They have a statue of him at 31st and Benton.
Benton. Okay.
Stood our ground. We stood our ground. We did what we knew was right, and we kept that. As bad as it was around us, we didn't let it come in there to us.
Sure did.
They had them people up there on Prospect all around us doing everything, but they didn't mess with us. And Harrel Johnson wasn't no fool. He wasn't scared of nobody.
And I backed him up. Now, one time, his biggest little friend got killed. His mother or somebody got killed.
The mother. It was a mother.
And
But that wasn't in our block, was it?
no, it was in the next block.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was in the block where they got the Renner Center or something like that.
Yeah. We just stood our ground, and we did. You know, and I guess there was some respect coming from it because of the kids coming to the daycare center. You know, we didn't have just 2905.
Right.
We went across the street and bought the building across the street, and we had babies over there.
Yeah, the infant center.
And then we came down the street at 2928 Wabash, and we had babies down there.
Yeah.
See, we could have bought up the whole block at one time, but we wasn't our goal. I mean, we ended up giving away more property and stuff and more cars. We gave away cars, houses, man, all kinds of stuff. I don't know, you guys did it. I didn't do it. All we did was get a gym and have a place for y'all to go.
D.A. Holmes was one of them.
Yeah, we started with D.A. Holmes and then we went over to Catherine B. Richardson. But we had a gym, we had a place for you guys to go rather than the streets. See? And when you came in there, you met me. And there were rules. And you got, see when y'all get out there in the gym and get to acting a fool and doing crazy things, That was my gym. That was my ball. I took the ball. Sit down. Hey, did nobody want to hear me preach? I'm gonna talk. They didn't want to hear it. And did nobody say, Coach, that's enough, because they'd have to leave if they did that. So that was what it was. See, once y'all got in there, y'all started realizing my program and what I was trying to do. And man, you guys, I had some good guys. I mean, you guys could play some ball. And look at Hook. Hook was one of the worst kids in the world. Look what he's doing now. He got his own place of business with his oldest daughter, and he was up there when the coach died. He was up there on television with I can't think of his name. Bush, yeah, when Bush died, but he was up there at Central at 4 o'clock that Monday evening.
Wow.
And the television cameras was up there, you know, and he's become a leader. Hook has become a leader. Went to the Board of Education, and we were looking for a place for young people to be able to play basketball and participate. It was recommended to us that D.A. Home was a good place, and they had a gym here and everything. So we paid $8. Myrtle paid $8 an hour, 6 hours a week, which was $48. She paid $48 a week for kids to come up here and practice basketball. And we had a lot of kids in the neighborhood who used to show up here.
About approximately how many people you might have on a good day come up here?
Hardly ever less than 50.
So you got 50 kids?
At least. At least. Oh, yeah.
And this is like the late 70s?
Yeah, well, I would say in the 70s, And you would shoot for 10 captains. And then each captain would pick. They would go around, and they would pick, each captain would pick until he got 5 players. And that covered all 50. Now we have a team, we have 5, we got 5 games we could play. And then usually the winners had to play the winners. And it went that way around the clock until we got finished. Sometimes the janitors were nice, and they would let us stay longer than 2 hours. It was a 2-hour time limit, but sometimes the janitors was kind of nice to us, and they'd let us stay 3 hours or more, you know.
Lockridge?
Huh?
What was this called? Because Miss Lloyd, I'm not Miss Lloyd, but you remember?
Yeah, they did.
Rosemary
Lowe, yeah.
She lived over here on this side.
I can't remember what they call Santa Fe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
This was Santa Fe, yeah.
Santa Fe,
Yeah.
right there. That's the-
Yeah, see, and then we started Key Coalition, and
Then we had Bernard Powell.
well, Bernard Powell was the somewhat originator of the Key Coalition by bringing the Vista workers in here, Rhodes Scholars and things like that, white kids, and then we tried to help out with that because we had 2906 Wabash, and we had 3 visitors there. It was 2 white girls and a black guy and a white guy that lived on the 2nd floor, and we charged them $100 a month. And then Myrtle had her daycare center on the 1st floor for babies. And then at 2940 Wabash, we had 3 visitors up there. We had 2 white girls and a black guy up there, and they paid $100 a month.
What I was called?
We tried to help people that was coming into the community to make a difference. We did everything we could to help people that were, and
What, the 70s?
what was,
That may have been way back in the 60s.
60s?
yeah, it might have been top of the 60s. Uh-huh.
So, explain to us real fast, what was a Vista? What was a Vista?
Volunteer, VISTA.
The acronym?
Volunteers for the government. They were Rhodes Scholars that went through the government and they were available to come into communities and help to change the community. See, they set up, they organized block clubs and they went through the city, got the sidewalks and things cleared off, and they overdid started our program. They went to Raytown and Raytown High. Coach Lathrop at Raytown, Coach Goddard at Raytown High. And the visitors went out there and got uniforms for our kids. They gave us uniforms for our kids because we didn't have uniforms, we didn't have money to buy them. And then Myrtle and the Vista ladies used to have to sit up and take the numbers, you know, because all the numbers is the same and everything. So you got to take numbers off of the jerseys and make it so that, yeah, it was pretty interesting.
What drove you to do it? You just saw the need, you saw the number of kids, and you just realized it needed to be done?
Well, we was like you got 2 boys and 2 girls. We had 2 sons, and the boys needed to get involved in sports, because I grew up, sports helped me. You know, my father wasn't around, my mother wasn't around, I was like on my own when I left, and I lived with my grandmother and grandfather 16 years I missed 2 years, my 6th and 7th grade year, but other than that, I was with Mom and Daddy for 16 years. And my grandmother came to the school with me one time. She came up there one night while I was on a program at the school. And my grandfather came to see one basketball game, and then after he saw me play basketball, he walked in a rainstorm over to the school to bring me a raincoat. So that was the only visit that my grandfather had. They didn't come to the school to visit to see what I was doing at the school or how I was doing anything. Actually, at graduation, I only had my mother and my 2 aunts at my high school graduation. And so because of that, I wanted my kids to be different from what I was, you know, from what happened to me. I wanted to change that, and Myrtle was a great help in doing it. So it worked out, because not only did we help our kids, but we were able to help others.